What's going on, everyone? It's Thursday morning, and as always, I'm coming at you with my weekly NFL game picks, outright, against the spread, and also locks of the week. Now, I probably won't be able to put this out immediately today, but as always, I'll do my best to put it up as soon as I can. And with that said, let's get right into it. Kicking off Thursday Night Football, we've got a classic NFC East divisional clash, Washington Redskins at the Dallas Cowboys. And look, this is a very important game for both these teams because, let's be honest, none of these teams, whoever wins here, is going to be able to catch Philly, who's in first place and running away with the division. So both these teams are right now fighting for a wild card spot, and with both sides at 5 wins and the NFC being a very tough conference this year, and especially in wild card representation, whoever loses most likely won't be getting into the playoffs, and whoever wins has to pretty much run the table in order to contend. So a very important game from that side of things. As far as the game itself is concerned, let's break it down. This game is in Dallas, so a little bit of a boost for the Cowboys. But as far as everything else is concerned, on offense, Dak hasn't exactly been playing great football. The running game hasn't been appearing, and a big name like Dez hasn't stepped up. So I do expect one of those sides to step it up in this game, but to me, the Washington offense just has too many weapons right now. Kirk Cousins is playing great football. Now, I will say the offensive line for Washington is a concern, so if there's any spot that they can be exposed and upset, it is at that point of attack. But you got guys like Doxson and Crowder stepping up, so that's what you like to see. And on defense, neither of these sides is dominating, but the fact that the Cowboys are still missing Sean Lee makes me give the Redskins a little bit of an edge. So I will say this, I've got the Redskins winning this game, but I think it'll be closer than a lot of people think. As far as the spread is concerned, Cowboys are at -1.5. So like I said, I do like the Redskins, so I'll go with them, but I think it'll be a close game that Washington gets late. Moving right along to Sunday, we've got a game that has a lot of importance with the Vikings at the Atlanta Falcons. Vikings at 9-2 atop the NFC North, Falcons at 7-4. They still have a chance of winning the NFC South. They're in the wild card as of right now, so both sides, this game means a lot. The game is in Atlanta, and the Falcons have been playing better football, kind of like what we saw at the beginning of the year, at the end of last year in terms of offense. We finally were waiting for Julio to have that huge game. Well, it happened last week, and honestly, I think he's going to finish the season out strong. Also, the Falcons are getting Devonta Freeman back. I think that'll help. Now, Vikings, they do have a very good defense, bend don't break, but to me, I think the Falcons are just finally starting to click offensively, and when they do, they're a very dangerous team. Now, defensively, the Falcons are no slouches either. They've got playmakers, and to me, I have to say that I just like the Falcons' offense here a little bit more than that of the Vikings. I like what Matt Ryan offers more than Case Keenum, even though he has been balling out, Keenum that is, and he has his own arsenal of weapons. But to me, the Falcons are just clicking a little bit more right now. On defense, the Vikings do have the edge, but when it all comes down to it, I think this will be a very close game. I like the Falcons to win it when it's all said and done outright. The spread is at -2.5 for the Falcons, and that's really tough because I think it'll probably be decided by a field goal, somewhere around that, but I'll gamble and I'll say that the Falcons win by at least 3, so give me the Falcons to cover the spread. Next, we've got another divisional clash, this time in the AFC, however, Patriots at the Buffalo Bills. And look, Patriots have been dominating the AFC and their division at 9-2. Bills, they're in contention for a wild card spot at 6-5, coming off a nice win versus the Chiefs. But again, it is versus a Chiefs team that has been struggling to do anything offensively, so keep that in mind. And with the Patriots, there are news about Brady, suffering from a sore Achilles, whatever it might be in practice, but that hasn't stopped him from going week in and week out and dominating opposing teams. And I don't think it'll be an issue. Chris Hogan most likely will sit out again, but again, on offense, they have so many weapons that it just doesn't seem to make a difference, from the running backs to the receivers to, of course, Gronk. Now, the Bills, they do have Tyrod Taylor. That does give them a better chance to win, but still, they are no match for the New England Patriots. Defensively, the Patriots, they're getting better, and the Bills, we have seen exposed one too many times. So I give the Patriots the edge all around. So give me the Patriots to win outright. The spread is at +8.5 for the Bills, a little bit high, but I do think when it's all said and done, Patriots win by at least double digits. So give me the Patriots as far as the spread's concerned too. Now going back to the NFC, we have got the 49ers at the Chicago Bears. And look, neither of these teams has really been lighting it up, let's be honest. 49ers with 1 win, Bears at 3-8. But the big news here is Jimmy Garoppolo will be playing, making his first start for the 49ers. And last week he had an impressive couple of minutes at the fourth quarter versus the Seahawks, throwing a touchdown. And now he gets to showcase his talents in Chicago. To me, I like this 49ers offense a lot more with Jimmy Garoppolo. To me, he just has more offensive talent. He's faster, he's quicker, he's more agile, creates more mismatches in general, more accurate. So for that reason, I actually like the 49ers offense here better than that of the Bears. The Bears are a run-first team. Trubisky, he's still coming into his own, and I'm not sold on him as a passer and in general on the Bears' offensive coaching. Now, the Bears are a run-first team, and they can't do much worse than they did versus the Eagles last week, putting together about 5 rushing yards in total. So they will bounce back here, but to me, when it's all said and done, the 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo in there, they just have a little bit more to get past the Bears. And while that Bears defense has been playing somewhat well, like I said, if this game had come down to CJ or Jimmy, if CJ played, I would go with the Bears. But with Jimmy there, I give the edge to the 49ers. Give me the 49ers to win a close game, but at the end, I'll take the 49ers coming out with a slim victory. Spreads at -3.5 for the Bears, so 49ers to go on both ends, spread and overall. Continuing on, we have got the Broncos at the Miami Dolphins, and I think the main story here is the fact that Jay Cutler will be starting. And to me, I think that's not necessarily a good thing for the Dolphins because he is a very mistake-prone quarterback, turnover-prone, and especially versus good defenses. And the Broncos still have those playmakers that can create havoc. Now, Aqib Talib will not be playing because of his antics from last week versus the Raiders, but there are still playmakers in that defense. Von Miller, I think, is going to have a big day. And offensively for the Broncos, look, Simeon came in late last week versus the Raiders, and he did somewhat all right. And honestly, I think he's the best bet out of all the quarterbacks on Denver. Don't think he's the quarterback of the future, but regardless, he knows that system the best. He has the most chemistry with those guys. And when it's all said and done, I think he'll be able to do just enough for the Broncos to barely squeak out a win. And I give the edge to the Broncos, mainly because of that defense and what they can do to Cutler. So give me them to win outright. The Dolphins, they're at -0.5 point as far as the spread is concerned. So again, that shows you that this is pretty much of a toss-up in that category. Give me the Broncos to go on the spread. Next, we have what should be a pretty interesting game and maybe one of the hidden gems of the week with the Lions at the Baltimore Ravens. Both teams at 6-5 and in contention for a wild card spot. And to me, this game is going to come down to the Lions offense versus the Baltimore defense. Looking at Baltimore last week, they weren't able to do much offensively versus the Texans, and we pretty much learned and saw that with the Ravens, it's been the same thing all year. Offensively, they just don't have enough firepower. They're too stagnant. They rely on their defense to do their damage and to set them up. Whereas for the Lions, look, they had a tough loss versus the Vikings, and they are more of an offensive team. So here, it's going to be Stafford versus Suggs on the Baltimore side of things. And I like the Lions offense more. I think at some point the Ravens defense will crack and will give up a big play. And then that's going to have to put a lot of pressure on Joe Flacco. And when it's all said and done, I don't think he's going to be able to deliver. I don't think that Baltimore offense is going to be able to deliver. So give me the Lions to win, even though this game is in Baltimore. I like them outright. So the spread favors the Ravens at -2.5. So for that reason, I go Lions 2 there. Moving right along, we have got the Bucs at the Green Bay Packers, one of these coin flip games in my opinion. And Jameis Winston is set to return, but look, even when he was there for the Bucs and healthy, he did not look that impressive. The Bucs offense was not clicking as much as we thought they would be, and most likely Winston won't be at 100% when he returns. Doug Martin also will be out, most likely with a concussion, so that means it'll be the Jacquizz Rodgers show most certainly. And for the Packers, as well as they played versus the Steelers last week, keep in mind a lot of their offensive success came because of blown plays by the Steelers defensively and missed coverages. Now, the Buccaneers defense, to me, they're not that good, so the Packers should still have success. And I will say, because this game is in Green Bay, I think that's a big part of this. If it was on the road, I would give the edge to the Buccaneers, but because this is a home game, because Winston probably won't be at 100%, and to me, Green Bay Packers get the advantage. It'll probably be the Jamal Williams show along with the Devontae Adams show because it seems like that's all Brent Hundley is comfortable with. So give me the Packers to win outright. The spread does favor the Packers -2.5. So I will say I think that's low enough where the Packers can cover. Give me the Packers to win by at least 3 points on the spread as well. Going back to the AFC, we have got another divisional clash with the Texans at the Tennessee Titans. Texans at 4-7 and Titans at 7-4, leading their division. And looking at the Texans, the story here is injuries. That's what's defined their season, and none has been bigger than that, the one to Deshaun Watson. Now the Tom Savage show, and we just know that he doesn't have enough offensively to make them, that is Houston, a threat. On the other side of things, Marcus Mariota leading the Titans, and as bad as the Titans looked last week versus the Colts, even if they play like that, I think they can still beat the Texans. And to me, this game comes down to the quarterbacks. Who has the better quarterback? And to me, no question, that is the Titans. So that's why I give them the edge here. Also, they're at home, so give me the Titans to win outright. I will say the spread -6.5, a little bit high, and I do suspect that the Titans could struggle a little bit offensively, especially after seeing how they did so versus the Colts and how their run game has disappeared all year long. So I will actually take the Texans as far as the spread is concerned. I think this will be around a 4 or 5 point win game for the Titans. Keeping it in the AFC and in the same division, in fact, we've got the Colts at the Jaguars. And look, Colts, well, without Andrew Luck, they're just not competitive. Jaguars coming off a tough loss versus the Cardinals at 7-4. And right now, all these games are important for the Jaguars because it's the difference between winning their division and being a wild card team. Now, this game, a home game, obviously gives them the edge. Also, the fact that their defense versus the Colts offense, huge mismatch. Offensively, you know, the Jaguars, they have to run the ball effectively for them to be a threat. Blake Bortles can only do so much, but I don't care what happens here. Even if they struggle offensively, their defense is going to bail them out, in my opinion. So give me the Jaguars to win this game, and I do think their offense will bounce back in a big way versus that Colts defense. So I like the Jaguars to win outright. As far as the spread's concerned, -9.5 for the Jags, a little bit high. I do see them struggling a little bit as of late, so I will actually go ahead, take the Colts to cover the spread. I think it'll be right around a 7 or 8 point margin of victory for Jacksonville. Next, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs at the New York Jets, and talk about a team that has been free-falling with the Chiefs, starting out so strong, being one of the best teams in the league, and then going back down to earth big time at 6-5, and in danger of losing their divisional lead, which we would have thought crazy a couple weeks back, but that is the case. Offensively, that's where the problem has been. Alex Smith, Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill, those guys need to get it going, and they need to do it fast. Now, with the Jets, they looked good versus the Panthers, and the reason they lost that game was because of some missed opportunities via penalties and then some special teams miscues. If it wasn't for that, I really do think the Jets would have won that game versus the Panthers. But look, as well as the Jets have been playing, I think the Chiefs, I think Andy Reid lights a fire under their asses, and I think they are able to do enough to get this victory. I'm not sure if the offense is going to explode, but I think in the end, they do just enough to get this victory. So give me the Chiefs to win this game outright, but I will say the spread +3.5 for the Jets. I'm actually going to go with the Jets as far as the spread's concerned because I haven't seen any life from the Chiefs, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game is decided by a field goal. So for that reason, Jets on the spread. Moving ahead, we've got the Browns at the Chargers, and look, Browns still winless. And the Chargers at 5-6, even though they are under 500, they have a chance to pull even with the Chiefs. And who would have thought, but that is the case. Behind Keenan Allen, behind Phil Rivers, and behind that defense, they've looked excellent in the last couple of weeks. And as far as breaking down this matchup, look, the Browns are winless for a reason. But I will say Josh Gordon being reinserted in this lineup is interesting. I do think he will insert some life into the offense, but as far as the matchup goes, there are mismatches all the way around here, from the quarterback to the running back to the receivers, all the way to the defense for the Chargers. They are better in all areas, in my opinion, and that's why I have to give them the edge. Now, I won't be surprised though, however, if this is a closer game than people expect. So I do like the Chargers to win overall, but the spread is minus 13.5 for them. So that's almost 2 touchdowns. I don't like that. It scares me a little bit too high. So for that reason, give me the Browns in somewhat of a surprising close game here. But nonetheless, I think Chargers win, Browns cover the spread. Next, we've got the New York Giants at the Oakland Raiders, and somewhat of an interesting game has become quite the opposite because of the news from New York of Eli Manning getting benched in favor of who? That's right, Geno Smith, the guy that's most famous for being knocked out by his own teammate in practice for the Jets. But look, the big news here is the fact that one of the biggest messes in the NFL becomes an even bigger circus because offensively, the Giants are going to be worse. I don't buy any of the news that they want to see what they have in the guys behind Eli. That's not the case. None of those guys are starters in the NFL. So that offense is going to take a step back. And for the Raiders, even though they're going to be without Crabtree, without Cooper most likely because of his concussion, I think they can do enough with Carr, with Lynch, with whether it be Cordero Patterson, Seth Roberts, doesn't matter. Give them the edge offensively. So I like the Raiders to win outright. As far as the spread's concerned, minus 6.5. Maybe if Eli was playing, I'd say go with the Giants, but with Geno in there, I say Raiders on the spread as well, win by at least a touchdown. Continuing on, we've got another divisional clash, Rams at the Cardinals, and look, Rams coming off a really impressive win versus the Saints, and Cardinals the same versus the Jaguars. So the Rams at 8-3, Cardinals at 5-6, and I think this can be somewhat of one of these trap games. It's a classic divisional game in the NFC West. Those games are close, they're ugly, and upsets can be had. But even with that being said, I think the Rams are the better team. I do think this will be a low-scoring game, somewhere in the realms of 23 to 15 to 16, something like that. Rams pull away late. Offensively, they are better, make no question about it. Defensively, I think they can cause a lot of havoc for Blaine Gabbert, whoever it is. So for me, for that reason, the matchups here favor the Rams. Give me the Rams, even though it is on the road, to win this game. Now, I will say outright, I like the Rams, but as far as the spread goes, Cardinals are at plus 6.5, and with these NFC West divisional games, we've seen it all season long. The underdog can somewhat cover here, so for that reason, I actually like the Cardinals to cover the spread on their end. Next, we have one of the most important games in this week with the Panthers at the New Orleans Saints. Both teams at 8-3, and I say important because whoever wins this game is probably going to be the favorite to win the NFC South, and that has huge implications for the playoffs, for the wild card, and for the seeding in general in the NFC. And breaking this game down, the Panthers last week, they did get the win versus the Jets, but that was because the offense was bailed out by the Jets' dumb penalties, by their defense, and by the Carolina special teams. So I'm still not sold on the Panthers. I don't think they're as good as their record indicates. And on the flip side, the Saints did lose to the Rams, but there's no shame in that. The Rams are a good football team this year, and the Saints, well, I think they've actually gotten better since the last time they played the Panthers. The running game has improved, the defense has continued to improve, and they haven't had to rely on Drew Brees as much. Now, I will say, however, this week, I think Drew Brees will have to have a big role here because the Panthers, their front seven is good. I think they'll be able to stop the run, but passing-wise, their secondary, it is limited, and I think Drew Brees, similar to the first time they played, can have a big game. So I look for the receiving core for the Saints to have a big game, and I actually think this will be kind of similar to the first time they played. The spread says minus 3.5 for the Saints, but I think it'll be bigger than that. I think the Saints win outright, and I think they win by at least 7 or 10 points, especially they also get an edge because this game is in New Orleans, and that home field advantage is a thing, especially for the Saints. So I'll go with the Saints to win on both ends here. Next, finally getting to Sunday Night Football, we've got the Eagles at the Seattle Seahawks, and in what should be a very entertaining and important game because of playoff implications. Starting with the Eagles at 10-1, best record in the NFL, and being led by the likely MVP candidate in Carson Wentz, along with a defense that has been playing excellent as of late. They should be a tough out for any football team. On the other end, we've got the Seattle Seahawks, who, at 7-4 right now, find themselves outside of playoff contention because of the tough NFC playoff picture. But for that reason, this game is that much more important for them. And I do think they will be a little bit more motivated here than the Eagles. So I will actually say that if there is a big upset to be had, this would be it here. But I can't quite convince myself to pick the Seahawks because from what I've seen of the Eagles, they have just been a machine. And Seattle, defensively, they're not the same football team with all their injuries they've had. Offensively, I will say Russell Wilson is the magician that we all have come to know. They are 7-4 in large part because of him. So this game is in Seattle. That is a little bit of an advantage for the Seahawks, but not as much as it has been before. I will say I do like the Eagles to win outright. Offensively, I think they are better. Defensively, I think I also have to give them the edge a little bit, or worst case, at least a wash. This game will come down to, I think, 1 or 2 big plays by Russell Wilson. And if he can convert those, I actually do think the Seahawks have a chance of winning. But right now, I'll err on the side of caution and go with the Eagles to win this game outright. As far as the spread is concerned, though, this is where I'll take a little bit of a plunge and say Seahawks at +5.5. I think they can cover the spread. I think it'll be a close game and most likely a heartbreaker in terms of the loss for the Seahawks. So I'll go ahead, pick the Seahawks to cover the spread on their end. And finally, getting to Monday Night Football, we've got the Steelers at the Cincinnati Bengals. Steelers at 9-2, decisively leading their division and one of the best teams in all of football. They've looked scary good these last 2 weeks behind Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, and especially Antonio Brown. But to me, this game is going to come down to which Big Ben shows up. Is it the one we've seen these last 2 weeks, or the one that has struggled and been inconsistent, especially on the road? Now, if it's the one that's been struggling, then the Bengals have a chance, especially at home. To me, though, I have to give the Steelers the edge because what I'm seeing from Cincinnati, I don't really like. And what I mean by that, the involvement of A.J. Green. We kind of saw it early in the season. He wasn't getting as many targets as he should have. Then in the middle of the season, kind of evened out, and now it's gone back down again. Joe Mixon has been getting a lot more usage lately. And even though that has worked, I think versus upper echelon teams, that focus has to be on A.J. Green. He is by far the best weapon there. And if Andy Dalton can find him and A.J. Green can have a big game, wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals upset the Steelers. But for now, I just have more faith in the Steelers. Defensively, this game could be a wash. So give me the Steelers. Offensively, I have more trust in them, and that's what this game comes down to, in my opinion. I think they win this game outright. As far as the spread is concerned, I will err on the side of caution here. Bengals at +6.5. We do know the struggles on the road that the Steelers can have, so I'll say the Bengals cover the spread. So with that, we wrap our game picks. Now let's look at our locks of the week, starting with the Patriots at the Buffalo Bills. This pretty much comes down to me, Brady versus Tyrod Taylor. Who would you rather have? And to me, that's Brady 10 out of 10 times. Give me the Patriots to win this game. Next, Colts at the Jaguars. I think this is just a bad matchup all around for the Colts. I think defensively the Jags have the edge, and offensively they can get right back on track, so give me the Jags. Then Cleveland at the Chargers. For me, I think this is just too important of a game for the Chargers to lose, considering how bad the Chiefs are doing and the fact that they can get back in the divisional race. Give me the Chargers to win this game. And then Giants at the Raiders. Geno Smith is going to be playing quarterback for the Giants, so for that reason, I got to give all the credit to the world for the Raiders. Give me the Raiders to win this game. And finally, Panthers at the Saints. Look, I think Carolina isn't as good as the record shows. I think the Saints offense is much better than that of the Panthers, and I think the Panthers secondary can be exposed, which is an expertise for Drew Brees. Give me the Saints to win this game. So with that, we come to a wrap. Let me know what you guys thought. Did you agree with my picks, with my locks of the week? If you have any questions, as always, let me know in the comments section. And in the meantime, if you enjoyed, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in future videos.